qué consiste?
Viene Mcmillan, que es un premio Nobel en química, y le vamos a hacer preguntas sobre su carrera y su vida, un poco, a saber, pues, las cosas de un premio Nobel. Quiero decir, Pontevedra, aquí no vienen muchos.
Interesante, ¿eh? Jorge, ¿tienes pensada alguna pregunta?
No, yo preguntas.
¿No vas a hacer ninguna? ¿Y qué le preguntarías si pudieras?
Se me costó mucho su investigación.
Bueno, interesante, ¿eh? Diego, ¿qué sabes de Mcmillan?
Pues, no sé, ganó el premio Nobel y poco más, no sé tampoco.
¿De qué materia? ¿Es de física, de química?
Química.
De química. ¿Sabes por qué lo ganó?
No. O sea, sé que es por una investigación, un descubrimiento, un plan de algo, pero no sé justo lo que es.
Muy bien.
Pero creo que Miguel lo sabe.
No hace falta. Ya pregunto luego, profe.
Cuéntanos cuál es la pregunta que le vas a hacer.
Pues, ¿qué le gusta hacer en su tiempo libre? Si tiene alguno.
Si tiene alguno.
Algún hobby que le guste.
Exactamente. Me imagino que en inglés la pregunta.
Hombre, claro. Pero me estoy reservando la pronunciación.
Muy bien. Mateo, cuéntanos. ¿Sabes en qué año ganó el premio Nobel?
En 2021.
En el 21. ¿Sabes por qué lo ganó?
Porque...
Es algo de química, ¿no?
algo de química.
Muy bien. Antía, ¿vas a hacer alguna pregunta?
En teoría sí.
Pues haznosla en inglés ahora para oírla.
Ay, no, eso ya la sorpresa, la arruinarías.
Es una sorpresa.
La sorpresa.
Vaya. ¿Vas a hacer alguna pregunta?
Ay, no sé.
¿La harías en inglés, en francés? ¿Cómo harías esa pregunta?
En las tres lenguas.
En cualquiera. Mariña, ¿alguna pregunta vas a hacerle al premio Nobel?
Non, eu veño a escoitar e aprender, xa está.
Eso, sin tomar apuntes.
Nada, queda todo aquí.
Todo en la cabeza.
Un acontecimiento tan importante, queda todo aquí.
Hola. Ahora sí escoitades. Ben. Bueno, pois nada, benvidos a todos ao coloquio con David Mcmillan. O primeiro saudar as autoridades, alcalde Miguel Anxo Fernández Lores, a concelleira de Cultura, Carmen Fonces. En representación da xefatura territorial temos a inspectora Marian González. Bueno, simplemente comentaros que temos o placer de contar coa presencia dun premio Nobel e de dous científicos galegos de primeirísima orde. Para nós é un orgullo tremendo, para a comunidade educativa do Sánchez Cantón pois é unha maravilla poder teros aquí, e para vos como alumnos, non sei se todos sodes de bacharelato ou hai algún do club de ciencia tamén hai, pois espero que aproveitedes moitísimo esta actividade, é algo excepcional, por lo menos o Sánchez Cantón non ten un premio Nobel todos os anos, vale? Entón, presento-vos quenes son os participantes no coloquio. Participará o Dr. David Mcmillan, que xa vos dixe que é o Premio Nobel de Química en 2021. O alumnado de segundo bacharelato procederá logo a presentalo con máis detalle, así que xa non vos digo nada máis. Está o Dr. Fernando López García, científico titular do Centro Superior de Investigacións Científicas, CSIC, e tamén investiga no CICUS, que é o Centro de Investigación de Química Biolóxica e Materiais Moleculares. E o Dr. José Luis Mascareñas, catedrático de Química Orgánica da Universidade de Santiago de Compostela e director do CICUS. Ao que lle vou pasar a palabra, a palabra voy a dar ao alcalde que vai falar un pouco con todos.
Moi pouco. Bo día a todos. Bueno, como es alumno do Sánchez Cantón, para mí non se me ocurreu pensar ni que estuera aquí como alcalde, moito menos con un premio Nobel de Química, que, ademais, é a primeira vez que fai un coloquio presencial, eso non se acaba de decir, o sea, que sodes dos máis afortunados do mundo, e espero que saquedes moita rentabilidade a esta charla e que vos anime a que fagades, traballedes na área científica, porque sin avances científicos a sociedade tampouco avanza. Por lo tanto, grazas por vir, enhoraboa por esta charla.
Buenos días, muchas gracias por vir. Son José Luis Mascareñas, o director de CICUS, como dixo o director do colexio. No CICUS tratamos de facer investigación na fronteira do conhecemento, investigación para romper a fronteira, para saber o que realmente non se sabe. Queremos competir con mellores centros do mundo en investigación, e penso que, como quizá oídes antes, estamos no 10º aniversario, en estes 10 anos de traballo nos CICUS, gracias a xente como Bea, que foi doctoranda miña, Beatriz Triño e de Fernando, pois podemos avanzar moito e en este momento estamos xa competindo na Champions. Como digo, estes 10 anos teñen sido moi bons para o progreso no noso traballo e ao longo destes anos teñen visitado varios premios Nobel. A gran maioría deles, cando venen a Santiago, pois fan outras actividades, por exemplo, participan no programa Conciencia, que igual oíste falar del, que dice José Mira, pero tamén tratamos que teñan interacción con estudiantes como vos, estudiantes de bachillerato e de secundaria, porque estades nunha edad perfecta para que realmente valoredes o que fai esta xente e a importancia que ten para o noso futuro e o noso siglo. Supoño que iso va a descontar agora nas presentacións, pero este ano dixemos, pois mira, sempre quedan por aquí, por Santiago, vamos a facer esta estancia ou esta visita fora de Santiago, e estamos encantados de realmente visitar Pontevedra, de estar aquí nun colexio onde está a Bea, nunha cidade tan bonita e interesante como Pontevedra, e con moitas gracias por vir. Penso que o que me queda é simplemente pasarle a palabra para proceder a presentación aos estudiantes que van a facer a presentación, non me dan así, pois que non sei que son.
Well, first of all, we would like to thank you to have you here because it's a pleasure to receive a person as talented as you in our high school. Now, the guys from second baccalaureate class are going to introduce you to the people that do not know exactly what you study, where, and what your award-winning research of consists. Firstly, we'll be talking about your biography and awards. And next, we are going to explain the research that led you to the Nobel Prize. And finally, we'll be focusing on the people that work with you and other research lines. So without further delay, I will pass you on with my conversation.
Good morning, Dr. Mcmillan. In the first place, I am going to introduce you to the audience. David Mcmillan was born on March the 16th in 1968 in Scotland. He studied chemistry as an undergraduate at the University of Glasgow. In 1990, he went to the United States, where he carried out his doctoral studies at the University of California. In 1996, he took a postdoctoral position at Harvard University, where his research focused on an anti-selective catalysis. In 1998, Dr. Mcmillan joined the University of California, Berkeley, where he studied the anti-selective synthesis. He found that a small organic molecule, rather than a metal, could drive the production of a specific enantiomer, what is called asymmetric catalysis. He coined the term organocatalysis. In 2000, Mcmillan moved to the California Institute of Technology. In 2006, he accepted a professorship at Princeton University. Mcmillan was recognized with various honors throughout his career and many research papers in scientific journals of high impact index. All of them give evidence of his excellence. Due to his successful research, he was awarded the Chemistry Nobel Prize in 2021, one of the most prestigious prizes in the world, together with Dr. Benjamin List. So I will let my partner explain the incredible research.
Now it's our turn to explain what Dr. Mcmillan's project is all about. It is worth mentioning that for this part, we have been inspired by the Nobel Prize lecture given by Dr. Mcmillan. We will try to answer the following questions. What is catalysis, what is organocatalysis, and what is asymmetric? What is catalysis? So catalysis is a mechanism that consists in introducing certain substances, called catalysts, in order to make the reactions easier and faster. And in some cases, it also allows new chemical reactions to happen. This means that catalysts enable the reaction to require less energy, and therefore the rate of reaction is higher. These substances are not consumed during the reaction and are removed afterwards, so they don't cause any impurity in the final product. Catalysis has a really big impact in our society, and it is used every day in our life. For example, for making medicines or in renewable energy.
Now, what is organocatalysis? Organo refers to organo. Thus, organocatalysis includes catalysts that have an organic origin. This is an alternative to the use of metal complexes, which can be more expensive and difficult to handle. This is because in some cases, metals are susceptible to moisture or air, and can also become toxic, of special importance in the area of medicine. Dr. Mcmillan wondered whether it was possible to develop less sensitive catalysts. Then he designed some simple molecules with nitrogen atoms that could create iminium ions as excellent asymmetric catalysts.
What is asymmetric? Asymmetric is an idea that can be explained with an easy example. We all can look to our hands and think that they seem similar because they are mirror images of each other, but not the same because they are not superimposable. That's what we call asymmetric, not superimposable mirror images. This is the same that happens in organic chemistry. A lot of molecules can have mirror images, and this is very important in medicine, because often life selects one of these mirror images as the effective one. For the same reason, one of these structures can be dangerous for people. Because of that, it is very important to be able to differentiate between these two mirror images. This process was very expensive, but now asymmetric catalysis allows scientists to selectively produce the required mirror image instead of the other. That means a great advantage for science because it will prevent pharmaceutical disasters like what happened with thalidomide, a sedative drug for pregnant women that was unfortunately synthesized with its mutagenic mirror image. It also has a great economical impact because it allows scientists to save a lot of resources.
Now I'm focusing on Mcmillan's work. In the picture you can see that there is a lot of young people working with him. Some of them are doctoral fellows and visiting scholars. Others are studying their PhD, and others are still undergraduates. In the group there are people from different countries like USA, Sweden, Argentina, Canada, Great Britain, and even from Spain. They are still researching in the organocatalysis, but they have other research lines that are photoredox, proximity labeling, and total synthesis.
Right, so now we're going to start with a series of questions. We'll be asking them as students back here, but also the public, if they wish to, they can formulate any questions. So to start off, Professor, could you provide us with some more information on other different investigation lines you're taking part in, or on other projects you're currently working on? Thank you.
This one? Oh yeah. So first of all, thank you for that introduction and that applause. That was wonderful. That was one of the best moments of my life. You're all high school students. My daughter is also 16. She would never clap me ever. So having that response from high school students made me very happy. Thank you very much. Other things we're doing is, as mentioned, we're using light. We're using visible light to try and make new types of chemistry happen, make reactions happen that were previously impossible, to allow medicines to be made faster or discovered faster, or materials to be made faster or discovered faster. But we're also using visible light to understand what's happening inside cells. At the moment, there's so much happening in the world of health discovery for pharmaceutical industry. But one of the things which is very difficult is to bridge between chemistry and biology. Professor Mascarenhas is an expert in this area. I am only an amateur. I'm an amateur, but what we're using is light to try and make a bridge between chemistry and biology. And by doing that, we hope to be able to understand biology faster. And if you can do that, you can get to new medicines, hopefully faster as well. Thank you for the question.
Because creo que muchos entendeste o que dixo, pero para hacer un resumen, a primeira parte dixo que está moi emocionado de estar aquí, que a súa filla que está nunha escola como esta nunca o aplaudiría, o sea que imaginando esa emoción de ver tantos aplausos de xente que ten a edade da súa filla. E despois, con respecto á nova línea de investigación que se lle preguntou, o que veo dicir que ten unha línea, eu penso que xa o comentei con alguén, a que podería ganar un segundo premio Nobel, que se chama Catálisis Fotorredox, que o que pretende é utilizar a luz visible, a luz solar, para facer novas reaccións químicas dunha forma máis sostible e reaccións que de outra forma non funcionan. E a súa última versión desta línea de investigación é unha versión na que quere utilizar este tipo de tecnoloxía para investigar o que pasa nas células do noso corpo, utilizar a luz visible para facer investigación sobre como se comportan as proteínas que forman as células do noso corpo. Bueno, máis ou menos, un resumen do... Intentarei facer un resumen breve para callar máis cuestión. Pero penso que moitos de vos entendedes o inglés, o sea que para entender esa pregunta.
Do women have the same research and opportunities in your field? Thanks.
Can you say again?
Do women have the same research and opportunities in your field? Thanks.
I would say in the past, women have not had the same opportunities. But I think what is happening now is people are working very, very hard to try and make the inside of a lab look like the outside world. I think this is so important. The way that the world is able to come up with the best ideas is to bring people from all backgrounds and all experiences. I was very lucky. I was from a working class town in Scotland, and I ended up in America working for very, very good scientists. But even so, I was still a man who had a privilege to do that. I think as we move forward, we have to make sure that everyone from all backgrounds sit at the table and have a contribution. Otherwise, we will not maximize the new directions and the innovation that will come from science.
Creo que entendiste, ¿no? Porque decía que anteriormente quizá non, pero que agora as mulleres teñen cada vez máis as mesmas oportunidades que os homens e que hai que tratar de facer que os laboratorios sexan un reflexo do que é a sociedade e tratar non só de se non son as mulleres, senón que persoas de distintas culturas con todos os situacións distintas podan contribuir ao desenvolvemento da ciencia.
Hi, I want to ask if has winning the Nobel Prize changed the way your colleagues treat you?
Change the way that
your
we
colleagues
live?
treat your colleagues.
Yes, winning the Nobel Prize has many people treat me differently, which is very strange. It's very strange. But my family, they still ignore me completely. I think with my home department, because everyone is now used to it, it's completely normal. But outside of that, it's been very different, very unique. It's very strange, but it's also, it's a lot of fun. Honestly, it's a lot of fun. So it's definitely true that people will treat you differently.
O que ven a decir é que un pouco lle cambiou no tema das relacións familiares, que na súa casa seguiron ignorando, pero que no ambiente na súa facultade, no seu departamento máis ou menos é igual, pero que fora dali sí que lle cambiou moito a vida, pero que en moitos dos actos que ten que facer como premio Nobel ainda está empezando, por decirlo así, que son moi divertidos e que está moi contento de poder faceros.
Any question for the public? ¿Alguno tiene alguna pregunta ahora? De los que estáis por ahí sentados.
What do you think is the most important thing to succeed in this field?
I think the most important thing to succeed is to never take a decision to take a lesser choice based on your own decision. I think when you're young, it's easy to say, oh, I'm not good enough, I should go here, without taking a chance of going there. I think most people tend to avoid sometimes going up because they worry they're not good enough. I think you should always grab the chance and always keep trying to reach and keep reaching and reaching. I think that's the most important thing in life as a scientist. Of course you will fail. Failure is normal. But you have to keep trying and you have to keep reaching. It's the most important thing.
Quizás ya entendisteis, ¿no? Lo más importante, están otras palabras, pero es no conforméis. Mirad, quizá algunos jóvenes dicen, bueno, no soy capaz de llegar allí arriba, me quedo con esto, que sí que seguro. No, tratar siempre de aspirar a algo más. Que por supuesto te equivocarás o cometerás errores, pero que hay que intentar llegar lo más lejos posible. No conformarse, aspirar a todo.
Have you ever failed in your educational studies?
Have I ever failed? I fail every day. I think being Scottish people are, this is true, we're used to failure. Failure is okay. It's okay in life to fail, but it's not okay to give up, I think. So failing is a very normal part. And when you fail, you always question yourself. But at the same time, failure is just giving you experience. And experience will always help you later on in life. So you always have to remember failure is a good thing. It's a good thing. It helps you later on.
Lo que deben decir es que fracasar o tener fracasos puntuales es algo muy importante porque aprendes de ello. Podes fracasar e non hai problema. O importante non é fracasar, o importante é saber salir do fracaso e non abandonar. Eso é o que é.
Would you recommend your children to study chemistry?
I laugh because the question is, would I recommend my children to study chemistry? My 60-year-old daughter is failing chemistry right now. Her teacher is very, very unhappy. He is very embarrassed about the whole situation. But honestly, I would recommend people to study chemistry. Chemistry is a wonderful science, and it only keeps growing and progressing and going to new areas. However, I still think what you should do is go to directions that you feel most passionate about. When you feel passionate about a question or an idea, it's not working, it's living. And finding your passion and finding your direction is as important as worrying about anything else. So as long as you keep focused, or you understand who you are and what you want, that is the number one thing.
Ya visteis, ¿no? Entender lo que os gusta, cuál es vuestra pasión y tomar esa dirección, lo que os apasiona. Eso es, por así decirlo, lo que él os recomienda. Por supuesto, la química también, si es lo que os apasiona, porque es maravillosa y está siempre creciendo hacia nuevas áreas y hay muchísimas oportunidades en la química. Pero lo más importante, por lo que dijo, es que sigáis lo que vosotros creéis que os apasionaría.
Dijo una cosa, no sé si entendiste también, que no se lo olvidó, y es que su hija, que tiene 16 años, está fallando en química. O sea, está, supongo que suspendiendo algún examen de química, lo cual a él lo pone en una situación embarazosa como el profesor de química. Imaginaros, ¿no? Yo ahora estar de votar en esa
What made you decide you want to study science?
I don't know who said that, someone can. Oh, hi. So I went to college only because my brother went to college. No one I knew had went to college before. And so I only went to college because of my brother. And I went to do physics. But very quickly I realized I don't like physics. Physics is not so good. And so luckily I was also taking a chemistry class. And the chemistry class, for the first time in my life, was an idea and an area where it felt very natural and very good. And so that's when I knew I was going to become a scientist, because the subject, it really made so much sense that it felt very natural. And that's when I knew I was going to become a scientist.
Él siguió un poco los pasos de su hermano que estudiaba física, y él empezó a ir a clases en física, pero no le acababa de convencer, y entonces en ese momento tuvo la oportunidad también de ir a clases de química, y vio que eso que era como la horma de su zapato, o sea, que lo encajaba perfectamente en su forma de ser y que lo ilusionaba, y por eso se fue a la química. Creo que tiene una anécdota que yo lo oí. I heard from you once that also some the rooms in which the physics class and the chemistry class were different, no? Can you say something about that?
Yeah. So when I went to university, I could not afford to stay at the university, so I had to travel 1 hour there and 1 hour back. And the physics class was at 8 o'clock in the morning. So this was too early. I was too early. But it was also the lecture hall was very, very cold. It was freezing. It was Scotland, very cold. And it was also when it rained, the rain would come from the roof and you get wet, which was also not good. So 1 hour later, though, the chemistry lecture theatre was beautiful and warm. And very suddenly I realized I was going to become a chemist.
No sé si entendiste, pero que dice que as clases de física eran as 8 da mañá, nunha aula na que chovía, facía moito frío, bueno, pois que non costaba ir a esa clase. Despois averiguou que as clases de química eran 1 hora máis tarde, nun auditorio maravilloso, donde estaba a temperatura era moito mellor. Tuvo claro que nese momento quería facer química.
What other discoveries have you done?
Can you stand up?
Have you done? Can you describe one of them?
I'm sorry.
What other experiments have you done, and could you describe one of them?
The experiments? Yeah, my students would be amazed if I could describe an experiment. The other ones that we have really been studying very carefully is thinking about catalysts that can take the sunlight or regular light and take that energy and convert it into changing chemical bonds. It's very interesting. If I shine blue light on my hand, it has no impact. I will not get sunburn, I'll be fine. But when you shine blue light on a catalyst, that catalyst becomes at the equivalent of being 32,000 degrees Kelvin, even with just something as mild as blue light. So you can use that energy to do lots of interesting new things.
O profesor Mcmillan escribiu unha das líneas de investigación que está facendo agora, que utilizará luz, en concreto luz azul, para promover a rotura de enlaces, formación de enlaces novos como enlaces. Cando a luz azul incide sobre un catalizador, este de alguma maneira excítase e permite que ocurran reaccións de roturas e formación de enlaces que non ocorren sen esa incidencia de luz azul.
Which books would you suggest to people interested in this subject?
Which books? Books? Oh, that's a good question. I would say if you are interested in organic chemistry, there are several very good books. My favorite is a book that was called Fessenden and Fessenden. I don't know if it's still available, but when I read this book, it was very good for me. I could understand much more reading this book. I think nowadays there's a book called Clayton, which is very, very good. If you're going to go to college, it's a very good book for thinking about organic chemistry. That's a good one. Okay. So Professor Semmelmeck teaches enormous classes of organic chemists every year at Princeton. He's one of the best in the whole university. So he has a much better understanding of this than me. He said Clayton is okay.
O que dixo foi que hai bastantes libros de química orgánica que poden ser útiles e interesantes para que vos interesedes para que aprendades da materia. Hai un que se chama Clayton que utiliza o profesor Semmelmeck, que está aí sentado, que é impresionante porque xa ten unha edad que acaba de cumplir os 80 anos e sigue sendo o profesor de unha gran cantidad de alumnos na Universidade de Princeton, de segundo ano, o sea, alumnos que están empezando a carreira, e é o profesor que está dando as clases, o cual é impresionante como aproveitan a sabiduría da xente maior para precisamente transmitir a entender my things. All the experience to teach and inspire young people.
Apart from many prestigious prizes, what else has chemistry given to you?
What has chemistry given to me? Yeah, that's a great question. Chemistry has been amazing for me. Amazing. It's changed my life in so many different ways. But I think the number one part to remember in becoming a scientist, it gives you a passport to the world. It's incredible. When you go to college, you become a scientist, all of us, we travel all over the world giving talks about science that we are most excited about. And people from all over the world will pay for you to travel all over the world to talk about your own personal interests, which is incredible. So it's a remarkable area. It's remarkable to be part of any science because it allows you to go and meet people of every culture across the world and get to talk about science, because science is a global language, and that's probably the most fantastic part of the whole thing.
Para empezar por el final, dijo que science, ciencia, es una lengua universal, global. Entonces, una de las cosas que le dio a él la química es la oportunidad de conocer el mundo, de moverse, de ir a todas partes donde le invitan para que hable de sus investigaciones y, además de eso, conocer a gente y conocer distintas culturas y muchos sitios a lo largo del mundo.
Was there a moment where you say, I don't want to follow?
I don't want to
follow the project?
Oh, yeah, I give up projects all the time. I think people always think, as a researcher, you're just always working on the same project. That's not true. Sometimes you work on a project for 20 years. Sometimes you work on a project for 1 week and say, because you realize the idea was not good. So giving up on projects is okay. However, when there's an area that you know is going to be valuable and useful, and you care about it, and you know it's going to be successful, you have to stay focused. You have to. But other times, you definitely will give up on projects because you realize the idea was not so good in the first place. That happens more often.
Lo que hizo fue que abandona proyectos de investigación muy a menudo. Algunos proyectos duran una semana, otros duran hasta 20 años, pero es muy normal en los laboratorios de investigación empezar algo a partir de los resultados iniciales, pues ver si realmente esto vale la pena o no. É o normal, abandona máis proxectos dos que sí, dos que funcionan. O que se trata de identificar cales van ser os proxectos que poden ter máis éxito no futuro, pero sí que abandonan outros proxectos.
What surprised you most about this project? What surprised you most about this project?
About the price?
About the project. The project.
The project.
What surprised you most about this project?
This project?
The Paralysis project?
¿Qué te sorprendió más del proyecto? The price.
What surprised me most about the Organo Catalysis project was the fact that it worked. That was very surprising. I think the second part was we always wanted this idea to not work for one reaction, but work for many, many reactions. That was the dream, and eventually the dream came true, and that was very surprising, I would say.
Bueno, como visteis, que lo que más le sorprendió del proyecto de organocatálisis asimétrica es que funcionase y que él aspiraba, y lo recoge así en el primer trabajo que publicó, que esto fuese una herramienta que pudiese funcionar para muchas reacciones químicas. Y realmente dice que el sueño se hizo realidad, the dream came true, porque realmente la organocatálisis se demostró que era que se podía utilizar en muchas reacciones, por eso la importancia de lo que posible.
Looking back, how do you feel about your high school studies?
I shouldn't say this, but I was very, very bad in high school. I was not good. When I was accepted into university, my teachers were very surprised, very, very surprised, because my grades through most of high school were pretty bad. But in Scotland, you could do well at the end and be accepted, and that's what I ended up doing. But the other part, though, was one thing to take a moment and think about is your teachers. Your teachers come to school every day and they care about you. They care about you. They want you to succeed. Later on in life, you realize how remarkable that is, that they care about you. So when I look back to my high school days, I just think about my teachers and how much they were passionate and driven to help all of these people. That was just amazing, just amazing.
O que ven a decir é que ele non era particularmente bo nos estudios de secundaria, solo ao final de bachillerato, digamos, que realmente tuvo boas notas, pero ahora cando mira para atrás, dáse de conta do importante que é a función dos profesores, e que ten moito que agradecer que os profesores que tiveran esa pasión para enseñar e para transmitir o importante que é o conhecimento. Entón está moi agradecido ahora a todos esos profesores que estuveron, digamos, detrás de ir para que pudera aprender e sacar mellores notas. Pero, sabes, non era, por lo menos en aquel tempo, un estudiante que sacara notas maravillosas, por lo menos ao principio dos seus estudios.
It is not too personal. I would like you to ask, where do you have the Nobel Prize? Like, what did you do with that?
We brought it for you guys to see, actually.
Esa é a medalla do Nobel, que é a medalla de verdade, o sea, é de oro, que non se nome grabado,
This question is related to an ongoing debate we have between us students from time to time, which is, do you have any sort of philosophical background, and to what extent do you agree with the statement, philosophy is the mother of all science?
Yeah, philosophy. I honestly think that we're all philosophical people. We all have these ideas we live by. And I think that's important. And I'm, like everyone else, I have my own philosophies about life. My number one philosophy, and I truly believe this, is number one, you have to be happy. And you have to have fun. And if you can find a direction, a job, a research project, anything, where you're excited and you're having fun, you will do amazing things. I was just over at the CIQ US, over in Santiago de Compostela. Everyone I met there was smiling and happy, in a good place. You could tell this is what you want for people that are doing research. They're happy, they're excited. So my philosophy is you have to find happiness first, you have to be excited, and then everything else will come from that.
Que sí, y que su filosofía más importante, la número uno, es ser feliz, pasárselo bien, sonreír, y que esa es la clave para poder tener éxito, ¿no? O sea, ser feliz y pasarlo bien, centrarse en eso. Y decía que, bueno, que una visita que hizo al CICUS, que estuvo esta mañana en nuestro centro de investigación, que veía que la gente allí estaba con una sonrisa, contento, y que, bueno, que los científicos deberíamos de ser así, estar contentos y apasionados por lo nuestro.
What did you feel when you win the Nobel Prize, and consequently, what did you do?
Yeah. On the morning it happened, my phone was ringing, and my wife woke up. It was very early in the morning in where we live. And my wife woke up and she was very angry because it was waking her up. So she moved the phone far away. And then later on, I got a phone call from the other winner who told me we had won this. And I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a prank. And so I told them I was going back to sleep. So I went back to sleep. And then later on, I decided to get up and see who won the Nobel Prize. I went downstairs and opened up the laptop and I went to the New York Times, and there was an artist rendition or a cartoon, and I recognized Ben List, but I didn't know who the other person was. But then I saw my name underneath it, and I was both incredibly excited but also slightly offended by the photograph. And so it was a strange feeling. But then I went upstairs, my wife was still sleeping, and I said, her name is Jean. I said, Jean, I think I won a Nobel Prize. And then she said something that I cannot repeat because it's not very nice. And then we went downstairs, and she went down to make sure it was true. I don't think she believed me, just wanted to check. And then we went upstairs to try and wake up my 16-year-old daughter. That was very difficult. So we woke her up, and we came downstairs, and then we had a dance together, which was very, very special.
La gente lo entendió, me parece que es tremendamente tierno, ¿no? Lo que acaba de decir es tremendo. O sea, un poco a veces me acuerdo de todo. O sea, es que le sonó el teléfono muy pronto, pues serían las 5 de la mañana o algo así. Luego yo, Jean, su mujer, y Jean quería seguir durmiendo, se enfadó toda porque sonaba el teléfono. Y después volvió a recibir varios mensajes, y los mensajes eran de la otra persona que había ganado el premio Nobel, de Ben List, diciéndole, Dave, ganamos el premio Nobel. Y Dave le dio la vuelta al teléfono y se volvió a dormir. No le hizo caso, pensó que era una broma. Y entonces después ya cuando se levantó, cuando fue a ver las noticias para ver quién había ganado el premio Nobel. O sea, y fue a ver las noticias y miró el New York Times y vio una foto que la pusisteis ahí antes, un retrato de los dos que ganaron el premio Nobel. Entonces reconoció que uno era Ben List, que se lo reconoce fácil porque no tiene pelo. Y ahí está. Pero el otro él no se dio cuenta de que era él, porque la verdad es que no se pareció mucho. hasta que vio que debajo sí que estaba puesto el nombre. Entonces cuando fue a despertar a su mujer, le dijo, yo creo que he ganado el primera vez. Y su mujer tampoco lo creyó, entonces fue ella a comprobarlo por su cuenta, viendo las noticias de que lo había ganado. Y cuando ya se dieron cuenta de que lo habían ganado, fueron a despertar a su hija de 16 años y estuvieron bailando en la cocina.
First of all, excuse me because I know very little about chemistry, but I would like to ask you, in which field or which part of our daily life do you think that your project is going to be most beneficial for us humans?
Yeah. So I would say number one is medicine, for sure. There's now medicines that are being made, for example, for migraine. So many people all over the world suffer from really bad migraines. One of the medicines that's now being made is being scaled up, made for society using the technology we developed. But it's also being used for medicines for cancer. It's also being used for medicines for heart disease. So medicine is probably number one. But it's also being used for things like materials, even being used for perfumes. Perfumes very much being used for perfume, and even shampoo. When you wash your hair, it's being used for shampoo, which I find very funny for some reason, but it's being used for different things. Yeah.
Sí, creo que fue fácil entender, ¿no? Medicamentos, fundamentalmente medicamentos, por ejemplo, migrañas que afectan a muchísima gente, pues uno de los medicamentos que se está utilizando se prepara en el laboratorio a gran escala con sus catalizadores, pero también para otras enfermedades, cáncer, para problemas de corazón, para todo lo que sea relacionado con medicamentos, para nuevos materiales también. Y después decía que se sorprendía, pero que también para la industria de fragancias, de fragancias también se utiliza, incluso para hacer champús. Para muchas cosas, tiene muchísimas utilidades.
What do you like doing in your free time?
Oh, I love football. I love soccer. I watch my wife. I watch football all the time. That's what I do. I watch football all the time. Outside of that, do I do anything else? Oh, I play golf. When you're from Scotland, it's the law. You have to play golf. So I play golf. But I mainly love to watch sports, but mainly football. Football is my number one too. I love football very much.
Bueno, creo que el de business, no sé muy bien cuánto tiempo libre tiene, pero el tiempo libre que tiene lo dedica mucho a ver fútbol, que es un entusiasta del fútbol europeo, no del americano. Y después también, como todo buen escocés, pues juega al golf. Pero bueno, puedo decir alguna cosa que yo sé de él. Por ejemplo, tiene un par de coches Tesla. Fue uno de los primeros profesores de la universidad que tuvo un Tesla. Es muy aficionado a los Teslas. Podéis preguntar por eso.
Has winning a Nobel Prize affected your investigations in the sense that you have already achieved something remarkable and therefore you do not feel pressure to continue research?
No, unfortunately no. I won the Nobel Prize when I was 53. For you, 53 seems really old, right? Almost unimaginably old. I'm 53, but people think that's young to win a Nobel Prize. So I feel the expectations are very high. I have to demonstrate that I deserve this, which is, in some ways it's pressure, but in some ways that's very good. Because the thing that you love to do is the thing that you love to do. And so for me, this just gives me even more opportunities to keep pushing where our research is going. And a little bit even easier now to do it because of winning this award. So for me, this has been really, really fantastic.
No, lo que viene a decir es que ahora tiene 54 años. Cuando le dieron el premio Nobel tenía 53. Para ganar el premio Nobel es una edad muy temprana. De hecho, yo una apuesta que hice en mi laboratorio para ver quién iba a ganar el premio Nobel, a él lo puse en la lista y no lo votó nadie. Yo tampoco lo voté. O sea, porque pensé que aún era muy pronto para que ganara el premio Nobel. Yo sabía que lo podía ganar y estaba en la lista de candidatos, pero no lo voté porque dije, es muy joven, no se lo van a dar. Entonces, claro, desde la perspectiva de los otros premios Nobel que lo reciben, pues claro, 53 años es muy joven. Pero entonces, la otra lectura es que, como aún es joven, desde el punto de vista de la investigación científica, aún le queda mucho por hacer, tiene una responsabilidad muy grande, pero para él es una oportunidad. Entonces, el hecho de que le hayan dado el premio Nobel lo considera como un apoyo y un impulso a seguir haciendo cosas. O sea, que no se puede echar a dormir, que hay muchas expectativas con respecto a lo que va a hacer en el futuro.
Which scientists are your favorite ones throughout history and life?
Wow, that's a great question. I think this is boring, but Einstein is an easy one to say. Because Einstein said, knowledge is okay, but imagination and innovation is everything. And I think that's a wonderful thing to teach people. That's number one. I would say number two, I would say there's a chemist at Harvard called E.J. Corey, who I think is one of the most remarkable scientists ever lived. And he probably made more impact than most of the rest of the field combined, actually. So he is a hero of mine. The third person is not a scientist. It was someone I met recently who won the Nobel Peace Prize called Maria Reza. And Maria is from the Philippines. She's under house arrest because she believes in freedom of speech. And she was allowed to come to Princeton. I was allowed to meet with her for an hour. And I would say she's one of the most impressive people I've ever met in my life. Just absolutely remarkable. The person, you could just feel her personality glowing from this really unique human being. So those are the three people.
So, he said, of course, una amiga que sería Einstein, que claro, muchos lo dicen y que es muy importante. De segundo, dio el nombre de un investigador también químico de la Universidad de Harvard, E.J. Corey, que también fue premio Nobel, y que hizo contribuciones, ahora ya es muy mayor, que hizo contribuciones enormes en este campo y que es uno de sus héroes, por así decirlo. Y la tercera persona de la que estamos hablando, que es otra galardonada con el premio Nobel, Mary, que defiende la libertad la libertad de expresión en Filipinas, y que tuvo la oportunidad de viajar a Princeton y la conoció allí y vio como su personalidad era enorme, que abarcaba todo y que realmente le marcó conocerla a ella, ¿no? Y esas tres personas.
Hi. Do you think that your mother language was English, that's an advantage for you? Or?
Yes, it certainly is an advantage, I think, in science to speak English. I would be lying if I said otherwise. Because when you travel to all the conferences around the world, English is a language you have to learn to speak, to be part of it. And I'm lucky because put it this way, when I moved to America, no one could understand what I was saying, even though I'm Scottish. So even though I speak English, it's a different type of English. But I learned to speak in a way that people would understand. But in science, I think that English is the sort of language which people speak at conferences. So it's definitely an advantage. However, if you look at the people who have been truly successful in science, so many people either English is their second language or third language, or they don't speak English, which demonstrates to me that great ideas are not about the language you speak. It's great ideas in themselves will become their own idea and will spread because of the idea, not because of the language. So I do think it's an advantage, but I don't think it's something that is essential.
En resumen, lo dijo al final, saber inglés es una ventaja, pero no cree que sea esencial, lo que importa es tener buenas ideas. Y también dijo que él habla un inglés, y de hecho aún lo habla, que tiene un acento escocés. Yo, por ejemplo, estoy acostumbrado al inglés americano, se lo noto bastante. Y que cuando fue la primera vez a Estados Unidos nadie lo entendía, porque los escoceses cuando son profundos es difícil de entender el inglés que habla. Y que bueno, después ya se fue acostumbrando y ahora ya habla un inglés casi americano, a pesar de que tengo que decir que él sigue considerándose fundamentalmente escocés. Él es muy de Escocia.
After hearing all these wonderful things about your work and how did you get to win the prize, I will feel even more thankful for your presence here today. We would like you to give a small present for your visit. It's one of the most emblematic symbols of our city. It's the Builder Virgin Santuary, which is made by a very important traditional porcelain factory in Galicia. We will also be very grateful if you sign our book or copy book for special visitors. And we really appreciate that you took the time to meet us. We have to say thank you for coming today. We look forward to hear more good news about you in the future, but until then, you're welcome to come here every time, and you will have always our doors open for you. Thank you.
Acaba de escribir en vuestro libro de honor decir lo que era escrito. Muchísimas gracias por esta maravillosa hospitalidad, generosidad y calor. Vuestras cuestiones y preguntas y la presentación fueron extraterrestres, o sea, geniales. Yo siempre amo visitar Galicia por la gente y por la cultura, pero hoy fue un día muy especial para mí. Yo no puedo agradeceros suficiente lo que habéis hecho y realmente espero poder visitar de nuevo Pontevedra.